I'm Celia Smiley, and I'm so glad y'all are here tonight. And I wanted to kind of give a little bit of background. How many of you have been to a PACE meeting? Have y'all been to PACE meetings before? Sorry. I just kind of wanted to go over the origins of this group. You know, we had the Race to Nowhere that Maria Alexander motivated the church to sponsor. And we did that mainly just to start the conversation because we were concerned about the state that we saw some of our children in. And so it was a conversation starter. But when we discussed showing this film, the ministers and Maria and everyone else sitting around the table said, it's wrong to do this and then just drop the parents. And so we decided from the beginning that we would try to form support groups for Christian parents who were trying to set priorities according to God's will, as they strive to be the kind of parent that God wanted them to be for that child or children that He has entrusted to them. And so that's how we started, and the name PACE is based off of race. Instead of racing, we're going to pace ourselves in the way that God would like us to. And so we have taken suggestions and looked at what people were most interested in. And so the result is, tonight we have an expert who's going to tell us about homework. Because when people signed the list and made comments in areas that they're more interested in learning about, homework was the #1 topic mentioned. So I'm going to let Maria Alexander introduce our, one other thing. I wanted to tell y'all the email distribution list, if you're not on it, please sign this clipboard, and if other people come in, will you get them too? And the other thing is, on almost all of our communication, you'll see at the bottom it says join our Facebook group. And the reason we have a Facebook group is for communication, but also to be a forum for y'all. And nobody's using it for a forum, it's just me. I'm so lonely up there. And and Amanda Fuller actually wrote a comment once on there, and I've had 2 likes, and 2 people, I think, no, maybe 3 last time, answered the surveys. But y'all, no kidding, it's a way for us to get ideas of what you want and what you need, and also you might be able to help some other people with conversation. So I urge you to get bold. Okay? Okay.
Well, it is my great honor to introduce Dr. Amelia Spencer. She's a assistant professor of education at Birmingham Southern College, our alma mater, as well as her husband, who's here too. Amelia has 2 master's degrees and got her PhD at UNC. While her husband was getting his, he was at Duke getting his MBA. Yeah. So they have a house divided. So she comes with a lot of experience, not only from the education standpoint, but she also was a special ed teacher at Crestline for 3 or 4 years. 3. And she is a mother of 5, which makes her completely qualified for this conversation that we're having this evening. And most importantly, she's one of my very best friends in the whole world, but I don't know what I'd do without her.
Don't make me cry. Oh, that was so not nice.
Thank you very much for being here and being our expert tonight.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you. She stole all my thunder. I was going to tell you all about myself, and so she's told you, so I don't have to say anything else. I do want to just tell you, based on what she said about me, that I really have 3 lenses that I look at the world through. And so as I introduce myself, these are the 3 lenses that I think that I investigate the world with, and so you can see my perspective through these 3 lenses. My first is that I teach at Birmingham Southern College. I teach in their education department, and I teach the special education classes, and I teach the educational psychology classes. And so when kids ask me, when my kids or their friends ask me what I do, I just say I teach teachers how to teach. It's a pretty easy way to explain what I do. And as a little aside, I think I'm very lucky because I have the job that I would do even if nobody paid me. And so I love doing what I do, empowering young adults to go out there and do something really special in the world. So I really love what I do. In my former life, I was a teacher, and so I do have that lens as well, that I can see the world through a teacher, a special ed teacher, but a teacher nonetheless, through that lens. I remember when I started working, I've worked at other schools before, but I worked at Crestline for 3 years, and I remember one of my first couple of weeks there, I sat down with some of the teachers, and they were complaining about parents and just talking about how, you know, those parents, they need to, and I said, you guys would have hated me if I were kind of on the other end, the other side of that table, because I take care of my children, and I think that's what these parents are doing too, and they were like, ooh, okay. And then the third lens, which is my favorite lens, is through the eyes of my children and a parent. My husband and I are blessed with 5 children. They range in age from 8 to 18. And I think I'm uniquely poised to talk about homework because I have 2 seniors at Homewood High School that are about to go for college. And so I've kind of gone the gamut with those 2 in terms of elementary, middle school, and high school with those 2 that are very different, and yet I still have a 2nd grader. I don't know about that. I still have to do it again and again and again. So, homework. How many of you, think about it for a second, how many of you help someone with homework on a weekly or 2 or 3 times a week basis at home? Anybody? Think about how much time you spend a week talking about homework with your child, encouraging, cajoling, pressuring your child to do homework, or actually sitting down and doing homework. How many minutes a week would you say?
Probably not enough.
Okay, well, okay. 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 30 minutes, 2 hours?
Say at least a couple hours.
A couple hours, okay.
Sometimes more.
All right, so now think back about when you were your child's age. How much help did you receive with homework? Did anybody receive it? Can you think of a time that you really received any help? Because I really don't.
I did.
I think, yeah, there were a couple of times, but did they help you a couple hours a week with homework? Were you seeing that kind of help? There's some research that says that homework has increased, but I think we can all notice that there's some increase in homework and expectations in schools, but I also think there's an increase in parent participation and parent expectations. And so we're looking at a lot of different things. On the surface, when you if you looked at the poster, I'm sure you did not come because I look like a criminal on that picture. Where did you get that picture? I think it was off of that website. I know. I think I need to change that. But on the surface, homework seems like a pretty one-dimensional topic, right? I mean, when you think about homework, you think, well, you know, it's what schools do, it's what kids do, it's just part of it. And yet, when we started thinking about it, I started looking at the time that I had, and I thought, I've got to cut that part, because there's so many things that are kind of intertwined into homework. I want to talk about just a couple of things, and to lay the baseline or the foundation, talk about the research. A lot of people think that homework is just a fixture in schools, that it's a non-debatable issue in the schools. And if you could hear one thing tonight from me as an educator and as a teacher and as a parent, I would say there is nothing non-debatable at school. And I would hope that you could be empowered by that. A lot of people think, well, I just trust the schools and the teachers know what they're doing, and I'm not an educator by trade. And so I hand my child over at kindergarten, and they give them back to me when they graduate from high school. Well, there's nobody that knows your child better than you do. And teachers realize that. Even if they don't articulate it, they know that. And so if, at the very least, you represent your child and advocate for your child at a school, that's what your role is to take that responsibility and that opportunity to advocate for your child. And so homework is part of schools, and I think we all know that, but it's not non-debatable. Research, if I give you a little bit of history, anybody who's a history buff in here? You are, aren't you? Yes, you are. I know you. Heath is probably, knows the history of homework, but homework has been a part of schools as long as public schools have been in existence. But there's been a debate about homework and the pros and cons of homework ever since the end of the 1800s. Should I say that again? Over 100 years we've been debating whether homework is good or bad. And in fact, I think it was 1910, there were several states in the United States that banned homework altogether. Pretty progressive, right? So the pendulum swings from one extreme to the other. And so we question it, we think, is homework a good thing? And then on the other side, the pendulum swings and we say, we're behind every other country, we're just average, we need to be a force in the 21st century, so we need to pile on the homework. And that pendulum naturally swings back and forth. It's been complicated by the legislation that we've all heard about, and I don't know how much you know about No Child Left Behind, but the massive amount of curriculum that has to be covered every single year in every single grade is just phenomenal, and is added to the pressure of kids and teachers alike, which adds to the pressure of homework. The other thing that happens as a result of No Child Behind is that we measure everything by the almighty test, achievement test, and the scores. And that is the end-all and the be-all. Your scores are everything that counts about your child. And so we've kind of, we may push the pendulum a little bit further this time because there's a lot of pressure for the schools to do well. There's a lot of pressure from parents to try to balance their kids' lives. And I think we're going to have to see something happen about homework. And that's going to be kind of an up-and-coming hot topic. The good news is there's a lot of research about homework. Other good news is I'm not going to tell you all about it, about everything. But I will tell you about one particular study that was done out of Duke University. Wasn't that nice of me just to acknowledge that it wasn't from UNC, it was from Duke? Yeah. A guy named Harris Cooper did some meta-analysis of a lot of different studies. His first look at homework looked at 120 studies. So that's hundreds of studies and thousands of children and parents that have been interviewed, or they've looked at scores or whatever. And then 6 years later, he added on 60 additional studies. So that's 180 studies. And you know what they found? Almost nothing. In all of those studies, almost nothing. Correlational studies, if you know a little bit about statistics, correlation is when one thing relates to another. They're not causal studies. So they say, if this happens, then this will automatically happen. So it's not like a study that you can guarantee, but they just look at if one thing goes up, does another go up? So generally, what they found from this enormous compilation of the data was that before about 6th grade, there's almost no correlation between achievement and grades and homework. Almost none. In the middle school grades, so 6th to 8th-ish, there is a small correlation, and in high school, there's a little correlation. So it goes from absolutely none to a small amount. Now, we're spending a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of angst, putting a lot of pressure on our children for something that isn't even certain that it works. That's a problem to me. It's a problem as an educator, and it's a problem to me as a parent, that that's what we do. Going back to the way we say, okay, well, you know, I trust the schools. In a survey of teachers that was done at the University of Michigan, almost 60% of the teachers had never received any instruction on how to give, analyze, use, or use research that's based on homework. So I've never had a class, never had a lecture, never had any instruction on how to give homework that's effective, nothing. So we're trusting people who really don't have the information. One thing that I talk to my teachers about that are about to go out into the classroom and teach, I say, you know, the thing that's going to happen is we've taught you for 4 years, and we've taught you some good stuff. We've made you read some good literature. You know the answers. You've just passed your exit exam, or not, but you've just passed your exit exam. And what you're going to do, your first class, is you're going to fall back into the things that you were taught, the way you were taught, and the things that you were taught. And so the reason we give homework, in my opinion, is because we got it, our parents got it, our grandparents got it, we're okay. Except it's different. So on your handout, I kind of wanted to, the questions on in the middle on this page that says homework practices, how parents can help. About halfway down, it talks about the questions. Does homework affect student learning? Does homework affect non-academic things in a child's life? Does the impact vary with age, the age of the child? Are there time limitations to homework, and then what can we do? So I'm going to go, you're going to tell me when I'm getting close
To the time
that I want to finish talking, so
Okay,
people can
yes.
just
I'll do
communicate.
that.
Okay, thank you. The question about does homework impact learning, that's kind of a loaded question because we don't really know how to judge learning or success in life. If a child never did homework ever a day in their life, would they be successful in life? Probably. Would they like to learn? Probably. Their achievement scores might not be as good. But we don't even have research to back that up either. So I mentioned that there was no correlation in the elementary school level between achievement and homework. I mentioned that the middle school was negligible, and that the high school, there was some correlation. It seems like that homework might impact achievement and might impact learning, but we aren't sure. Does it impact other things, non-academic things? We would say, I don't know if you've ever asked your teacher, I don't know if any of you have like a kindergartner that had to do homework, but I don't know if you've ever asked the teacher why do they have to do homework in kindergarten? You may ever ask the kindergarten.
Yes, I just did last week.
Okay, and what was the answer?
She didn't have a response. It's her first year.
Right.
And she's just doing it because that's what the other kindergarten teachers do. And they
Tradition
all have
and-
the same homework, you know, but I said, why do we do homework? Because it's what you're learning in the class anyway. I just feel, you know, I mean, if they're I don't know. She didn't have a response. She really didn't.
A lot
and
of
I felt sorry
teachers-
for her. She's brand new, but you know.
Yeah,
and I
know,
wasn't being
and she-
ugly. I just said, why do we have this? You know, they have. I mean, it's hard just adjusting to kindergarten, much less to have to do homework.
A lot of people
The parent does it
don't
anyway.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
hard for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in a lot of circumstances,
Yeah.
that's true in a lot of ways. A lot of times they'll point to the non-academic. You know, if we're not really getting an academic bang for our buck, then maybe at least we're going to get better people that have a better work ethic and are more organized and less procrastinators, right? Well, the research doesn't show that at all.
See, I was kind of concerned. We've got identical twins, and one teacher gives tons of homework. One teacher gives no homework. So one twin is in the backyard playing and having a great time, and the other one's crying because she could not get through all of her homework.
Yeah.
So this one that's out here playing has become extremely lazy.
Yeah.
Because she has nobody to answer to.
Right.
She doesn't have anything to do. So we've said, I hope she gets a teacher next year that's going to.
Even if it's not effective, let's just do it.
She needs something to make her, it's just made her lazy. Like she has no accountability at all.
Yeah.
So it's her teacher gives her a sheet that says the month and it has the calendar on it and says, you know, do it to your convenience. You might do one thing one night or you might do 5 things one night. But there's no, you don't turn it in. You don't. She doesn't have to take it and say, here's what all I've done. But then this other one is just, I mean, she's just trying to just get through. Now, we did conference with the one that has a lot of homework. We conferenced with her teacher a few weeks ago, and she said that she had just read something about how homework really doesn't help anything. And she's like, I'm just backing down on the homework.
Yeah.
So it's become reading a story or something.
Academically, that's true, but
I'm about to ask you what grade.
Yeah.
Second grade.
we kind of fall back and say, well, you know, they're not going to be lazy at least.
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, we find that the kids that have more homework have more anxiety, and a lot of a negative feeling towards school. And it translates not just to school in that year, it translates to learning. They don't want to read. They don't want to investigate. They don't think anything is fun. They don't enjoy school. And so it kind of translates into that. And when you think about what they lose in terms of non-academics, how else are they going to learn how to talk with peers? Or, because they surely aren't able to talk at school anymore. How are they going to learn how to do chores at home? I have a hard time with my 2 seniors. If they have a couple hours of homework at night and we've eaten dinner and I've made them come in and eat dinner with us, I'm not going to make them, you know, clean up the kitchen because they're tired. They're going to stay up later than I am anyway. And so we're not only do we not see an academic difference, and we don't see a non-academic difference with work ethic and responsibility, and we see a negativity towards school, and then we think about all the things we're taking away from that child. So what's the rule of thumb? What's too much? In my opinion, any homework in elementary school is too much because it doesn't work. And those kids need to play. These kids need to have a good time. In the junior high level, when it starts to maybe make an academic difference, the rule of thumb is about an hour, but no more. And then no more ever, even in high school, than 2 hours. Does anybody have a high schooler? Okay, well, if there were a high school parent in here, they would laugh at me. And they would, because they have 2 and 3 and 4 hours of homework a night. Now think about that. If your child goes to school for 7 hours a day, unless they go to math at 7.
7, yeah. We leave the house at 7, so we have 7:30 now.
So maybe 8 hours a day, which
Less than the after-school sport.
well, even if you don't have after-school sports, say you just do school and homework. So you have an 8-hour day and then you come home and you do 4 hours of work. They need to be paid overtime because they work more than any adult in the house. And that is a long work week. And we're giving kids, we're not giving kids opportunities to make decisions about how they spend their time, which have lots of implications with playtime, with creativity, with entertaining themselves, having downtime, having exercise. So many implications with that. And so we're not giving our children the opportunity to do that, and we're piling on. And so those kinds of rules of thumb are important to know.
Can I ask you a quick? I'm curious.
Yes.
So, what do you attribute the achievement gap to? I mean, so in Asia, school days are longer, school years are longer, the hours are there, and there's achievement. Yeah, and it's not just Asia. I mean, it's all over the world in a certain places. How do you sort of solve that problem with this overwork problem?
You really want me to answer that question?
I'm curious.
I don't think we're smart with the time we do spend.
Okay, I figured, yeah.
And I think we are fearful, and we're really going about it, in my opinion, we're going about teaching things the wrong way. So while we're adding on that children need to know these 50 things that are very factual in nature, we don't let them look at the big picture. And so when we don't look at the big picture and we believe that kids are smart enough to look at this big picture and then synthesize all the information and learn the facts in the process, we don't give kids enough credit. We also don't give them, I mean, I don't know about you, but my children, once they get to 2nd grade, have recess 1 time a week. And people then say,
No, that's every day.
third grade, they stop. At least at Hunwood.
We've had to fight for it, but we have it.
It's every day.
We do, so, and then people will say, oh, well, they have PE every day. Well, yes, have you ever been to a PE class recently? It is so structured, and they also, there's probably about 10 minutes of actual physical exercise in a 45-minute period. Because there's transition. Cut stack.
And they get a grade.
Yeah, right.
Give you tests.
So I think there are a lot of things that go into that. If you look, I'll tell you, if you look at Finland, Maria's from Finland. If you look at Finland and how they approach learning,
so is that like an argument for Montessori?
It's kind of Montessori, original Montessori, not necessarily the way we do Montessori here, but it is very project-based. It's very integrated learning rather than, you know, we do math for 15 minutes and then we do reading for 25 minutes and, you know, and so there's no integration. One of the things that kept coming up in my reading for this was that 2/3 of all high school seniors see absolutely no relation to what they do at school and in homework into real life and what they want to do in their lives.
Absolutely.
And you can see the disconnect.
My freshman year in college.
You can see the disconnect at some level, but 2/3, really, that's a lot. That's a lot of kids who are very disillusioned about what we make them do 12 hours a day. So, now that I've discouraged you a whole lot, what can we do?
That was going to, how do we
Okay.
make the change?
What can we do? Well, the first thing I started with, we're getting close. First thing I started with was I want to empower you to make you realize that you do have some say. You do.
He said I need to start homeschooling.
Well, that's up to you. I did not advocate for that, but I wouldn't not advocate for that either. You do have some say. And parents need to realize that they do have that, not just the ability to do something in a school, but they have the responsibility to do that. If one person's going to advocate for your child, it's not going to be the teacher and it's not going to be your administrator, it's going to be you. So you have to do that. One way to do that is to read professional literature about a topic, whatever you're interested in. Be knowledgeable. You're going to be more knowledgeable than some of the teachers. because teachers aren't well versed, particularly in homework. There's so much literature out there. I brought about 6 or 8 books about homework in particular. And you can get your ducks in a row and you can know. You can get with other parents who are like-minded and in the same system and do something big. And I really do believe that. If you're not up for that battle though, there are things you can do for your own particular child. One is spend some time having an open dialogue with the teacher, whoever the teacher is. You guys have a little bit younger kids. You have the opportunity to start this every year where you go and you say to the teacher, I just want to know what your philosophy is about homework. And what would homework look like if it were perfect at my house? What would it look like? How much time would it take? Would there be tears? Would there be frustration? Hear what they have to say. And then when there are tears and when there's frustration, you can go back to say, remember that dialogue we had? I feel uncomfortable with what's going on in my house. Do you have suggestions? And if they have suggestions, you can try those. And if they don't, you can have some suggestions. And that is, my child might not be participating in this. And I know you think I'm crazy, but I have done this. I went to our 4th child, went to school and was having homework and was very frustrated with the homework, cried every night, and was, angry words between the two of us. I was like, you are doing this homework because you have to do this homework. And so after about 3 weeks of that, I decided I went to the teacher and I said, we're not going to be doing this homework for the rest of the year. And she said, what do you mean? And I said, we're just not going to do it. I said, I'll give him the option to do the homework, but I'm not going to make him do the homework. And it was a low grade. It was a lower grade first, but she looked at me like I had grown horns. And we talked for a while, and she still talks about me at the school. I'll tell you, Emmy's children go to the same school, so I'll tell you who it is. But she still laughs about me not letting Isaiah do homework. And he did do homework occasionally when he felt like it. But I didn't insist that he did it. I've also told my 7th grader and my 12th graders this year, you're too tired, your head is down on the table, you're exhausted, you're going to bed. But I haven't finished my homework. You're going to bed. I think it's
when you have I know with my daughter, they get a grade on the homework.
I know.
So,
I know.
It's like a missed assignment, and that happened 1 or 2 times, and it really affected her grade.
Yeah.
Big
I
time.
I know.
And some of it was when she was sick, and that, well, being sick.
You can't be sick.
Horrible.
You
And I couldn't get the teachers to give her stuff. I fought with them for 3 months. So, I don't know how else to, without getting a black mark as a bad parent that pesters them.
And you're going to run into circumstances where teachers are not going to work with you. That is going to happen. I really don't believe that it is every teacher and every system. I don't know, does Mountain Brook have a policy, a homework policy in writing? Do y'all know? Do you know, Maria?
Do some schools.
Only about 35% of the schools in the United States have a homework policy, but 35% do, where they say only a certain amount.
When my kids were at Vestavia Elementary School, I don't remember what, East or something like that, they had a 10-minute per grade rule.
Right, and that is a very good.
Elementary school.
And if you have at the elementary school,
and I don't know if they still
if you have that all the way through 12,
ago.
that means you have no more than 2 hours of homework a night.
Well,
And that's a decent rule. I'd rather not have any homework at the elementary school. But if I had a rule of thumb, I think 2 hours a night in a high school is reasonable. But that requires teachers to coordinate, parents to be articulate. I do think there are, surprisingly, we all think, we just can't do anything, and we're only one person, But the survey out of the University of Michigan said that 95% of all parents think that it's too much homework. Well, if you got 95% of the parents who think that it's too much homework, that they live in Mountain Brook, or they live in Vestavia, or they live in Homewood, and you got half of those people together, that's a lot of people. And systems will make changes based on parents. Now, they may not do it on a one-to-one basis, but if you start some grouping, some discussion, groups like this, we can stand up for our children. We have to. And realize that we're making choices. Even when we don't stand up for our children, we're deciding we're not going to do that because we think that what they're doing is reasonable. And so getting the information is important, realizing we have a say, realizing we can communicate with teachers, even if they say no, and then giving our children the opportunity to also say no. It really has empowered my now 8th grader, and she will say, "Mom, I'm too tired to do my homework. I'm not going to do the rest of my homework." And she may make a bad grade. She actually made her first B ever this last 9 weeks in math because she had skipped homework a couple of times. And that was fine with me because I think she needs to learn to say, "I can't do any of this." So I guess to kind of wrap up what I really think is important about homework is to kind of think about each child as different, each situation as different, and realizing that you don't have to give all the responsibility for your child's education to the schools. That we have some responsibility to take care of our children the way they need to be cared for. And if my child needs a down night and she's exhausted, and I'm not talking about being lazy. I'm not talking about trying to get out of work. I'm not trying to, escape reality. But the fact is, the true facts are on our side. That there's been no good study that says definitively one way or the other, after decades of research, you can't find one single one that is definitive that says, yes, it is important that we do homework. And I think really having that in our back pocket and realizing it in a calm, respectful way that we can approach administrators and teachers and try to advocate for change. And we can give our children that ability to say, I need to pull back a little bit. I can't do all of this. And the other thing that you mentioned was extracurriculars. We also need to understand, overbooking our children is just as bad as giving them 4 hours worth of homework. We've got to realize that we are in control of that to a certain degree until they get to an older age, and making sure that we give them that opportunity to make some choices.
Would you like to lead our crusade against homework?
Yes, I am doing that at my own
School system.
well, not at the school system, but I am doing it for my own family. And I have made some teachers not very happy. The principal at my elementary school really shudders when I come in the door. And that's okay with me.
Yeah.
She does not have to be my best friend. I respect her, and I hope she respects me, and if she doesn't, the bottom line is I'm taking care of my children the way I truly believe God would want me to take care of them.
Amen.
And I have to do that for my child. And if my child gets a C, it is not the end of my world. They will still get in college. They can write their college essay on how my mother did not let me do homework. And that's why I have a B or a C or a D. One of the things on the handout that I gave you, in July of last year, Los Angeles Unified School District made a rule, I guess, that homework could account for no more than 10% of your grade. Now that was probably because parents pushed enough to say, you know what, I need to be in charge of that, and it shouldn't affect my child's grade, and it shouldn't affect my child's behaviors, the punishment my child gets for that. I should be able to say yes or no that my child can or will or won't do this homework, and it shouldn't be able to affect their grade. Making a decision like that, I think, is a possibility, but it's going to take standing up. I mean, it's not easy, and nothing in parenting is easy. Would you agree? Got an amen for that? Because it is not easy. Nothing is easy about parenting, and this is just one other thing. But realizing that you have some control and some power is a good thing.
Well, I think Celia made such a good point early in this, when we were talking about pace and putting it together and after the race to nowhere. When you think about the example that you gave, that 8 hours, at school, the plus 2-3 hours, I mean, the school is taking, not us, not church, is taking that time out of our child's life every single day.
I mean, your family life.
Your
Yes.
family life, I mean, your church life, I mean, that's
I'm
a
about
lot
to-
of time.
I'm about to lose 2 children to college. And when I think about the amount of time they've spent working on homework in the last 4 years in high school, rather than sitting at my dinner table, it makes me really sad and sick that I don't think they've made better grades because of it. I don't think they're in a better college because of it. And I hope it'll change the way I lead my life for my little 3, lead them through. But you're right. There are a lot of kids in the youth group who can't come on Sunday nights because they have too much homework to prepare for Monday. They don't come on Wednesday nights because they have homework. I mean, that's a huge statement. Are we going to allow that to happen? That we give that to the school and they hijack our kids? It's a little bit dramatic, I know, but it's accurate, and I can see standing on this other end, looking back at my 2nd grader. His teachers better watch out, because he's not going to be doing 4 hours worth of homework. And I say that, it doesn't have to be a battle, really. I mean, it may be a battle sometimes, but I'm an educator. It's not like I'm against teachers. It's not like I don't like teachers and respect teachers. I am one, and I respect teachers for what they do. But I do think as a parent, I need to have some say in it. I do have a lot of good resources on the back, on the last page of your handout. I think, is there a resource page?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Several good articles, a lot of good books. My favorite is the Homework Myth. It's a really, really good book. And he's done a lot of good research and is very articulate about the subject of homework.
Is that on here? I don't see it.
Is it not on there?
It's in the middle.
But all of these are good. And then a more practical, okay, so this is more learning about what homework is and what it isn't, what we make it, we tout it to be, and we're not correct a lot of times. So this one would be more and practical, what you can do like at a bigger level. John Roseman, I don't know if y'all read him, he is a fabulous author who has great advice. If I had to choose one parenting guru that I would follow to the ends of the earth, he would be one. And Levine, who's the guy that wrote?
Kevin Lehman?
Kevin Lehman. Yeah, Kevin Lehman. Those two would be my favorite. But
That's the book that Pace we did a review of 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm. He is fabulous. Yeah. But John Roseman is fabulous, and he talks more about when you're in the midst of it and you can't say no, what do you do then? How do you deal with the everyday, the child comes home crying, you know, it's a battle kind of thing? How to set up your child, how to get them organized, how to get them somewhat motivated. This is a good book for that. So ending the homework hassle is one that I would really highly recommend to you.
Have you heard about, it was on 60 Minutes, and I've actually heard about it before, but the Khan Academy?
Oh,
the guy.
Yes.
And I've tried to get my daughter, and I've got to figure, have any of you heard about it?
KAHN.
This guy, it's a website, and it's free. I don't know how to tell it quickly. This guy basically on his own, he's got like an engineering degree, very smart guy, went to MIT, and he decided, because he saw his kids homework, he thought, what if I do a tutorial, put it out there on a blog, and it's free for anybody to tap into. So he started with math, and you can hear his voice, and it's a blackboard, and he's using, like when you watch the sports announcers do the football, he's showing how to solve the problem and talking it through. You can tell him what grade the math is or the subject. And he's now, Bill Gates even tapped into it a couple of years ago for his own kids to study to help them with their schoolwork.
It's fabulous.
To where Bill Gates donated like $20 million to this guy or something unbelievable. This guy now has 400 people that work for him, this nonprofit organization. And they're trying to get more and more subjects, but there's now some schools that are using this Khan Academy in the classroom, and then they're not having to come home and do the homework because they're learning it logically. Well, and they all have computers and laptops in the classroom. But anyway, it's a whole different philosophy.
It's called a flipped classroom.
Okay.
A flipped classroom, flipped curriculum. And what happens is, instead of sending kids home to do homework on their own, to the frustration of other parents who can't do, you know, physics. I mean, my gosh, AP, they don't even try anymore with me because I'm like, I don't know. But okay, so instead of sending home the homework and doing the lecture in class, they flip it, and they make either a podcast or tap into something like the Khan Academy, and they assign 20 minutes of the video footage, which is fabulous because it's finite, 20 minutes, you're done. And that's at home, that's the homework. The other thing is, if they didn't get it, they can rewind it, they can rewind it, they can rewind it, and then they maybe do get it. And then what happens in the classroom the next day is more like a workshop. You have the teacher there that can do the one-on-one, figuring out questions, answers, problems, but you also have small groups. You have the expert who really does understand it, and then they teach it to the other ones who don't, or they work on specific homework. You can get away with all kinds of projects at school, not at home. You can do what we were talking about, the global teaching, the synthesis of information, where then you understand the facts just based on your investigations. It's an incredible thing. It really has helped in a lot of classrooms. And I think that would be a very practical way to do that. It's hard to tell parents that this is what ought to happen because it's really a teacher and an administrator's responsibility. However, that's an opportunity too. Thank you for bringing that up.
It's the same thing as the homework saying we can be advocates. This is, I think it's a great new way.
It is.
It is.
There's actually there's an app. There's an Apple app now, and what you can do with it is it gives real-time assessment in the video, so it'll do it and then they'll test. And so if you get the app, you can actually log your kid in and you can see scores on the back end about what their gaps are.
Y'all, it's really 7-12. And so let's say a quick prayer. Y'all thank Amelia.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
And then if you want to stay, you can. Okay. Dear God, thank you so much for this time together with these parents who are seeking your will, who understand the gift that you have given them, your precious children in their care. Please guide us as we take the time to think about what it is you want us to do for those children. Amen.
Amen.